All right, so last month we had a lot of minutes. 3 pages. Great job catching all this, TJ. Anybody have questions?
I have no question. Bruce makes the motion, I'll second it.
All in favor? Yep. Moving on. So, Noel Hinckley will not be in tonight, so we are going to take a lap. And we will move on to Carl Toto and Elizabeth for Avon Shore Drive Foundation replacement. Okay, so you want to come up and explain what you're doing? And pictures aren't great, so it's hard to see.
Okay.
An explanation.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course. So, yeah, I'm Carl, Elizabeth. It's my first time, obviously. And, so, yeah, we're new to Sabatis. And, we purchased a piece of property in July now, right? And so one of the first things that we noticed, and we knew it when we purchased it, is that the foundation was failing. So we talked to, we started the process, we had to kind of see who does what work, who's licensed and qualified.
So what is it, like a stone foundation?
So, no, so here's the, I submitted picture too.
Yeah.
The picture didn't look
Oh, they
good.
didn't? Okay, I apologize.
Oh, good, yours looks better.
Wooded dirt.
Yeah, oh, did they?
Oh, so
Okay.
it's wood.
Yours looks
Yeah,
better
so,
than
I'm
these.
sorry, I apologize. It's,
No, it's fine, it's just.
so it's a dirt floor and it's just all
Wood wall.
wood walls. Yeah.
Wow.
So is it up, is the house up on jacks?
Yes.
And some of the posts, yeah. So we started the process and we talked to, different builders and contractors, and we feel like we really put a good team together. We found all local licensed people from the area, and I have all their names. I have what each one's role, but basically, I guess all we're looking to do is we really just want to replace the foundation. We don't want to go any further. Either way, we're going to stay in the same footprint.
So you're basically just gonna jack it out,
That's
Yes.
it.
replace everything underneath?
Mhm.
And then drop it on something else.
Yeah,
Right,
something that will stay.
right. So,
And they have received their DEP permit.
yes,
Correct.
right, so
Yeah,
we were
see
pretty
that.
happy, yeah, we got that pretty early on. And,
Now, the deck and everything, is that new or is that already there?
Say, I'm
That was
sorry.
Already there,
The deck's already-
existing.
Oh, yeah, existing, yeah,
But you're adding nothing except the foundation, right?
Exactly.
that's it.
Okay.
And,
Was it gonna be block or?
it's gonna be poured,
Poured.
yeah. So some of the things that we, thought were important is when we were talking to the different contractors, is that all the erosion control, like the shoreline safety, the silt fencing, the netting, the sea bills, it'll all be in place. Again, we feel like we have some really good, experienced people that do this pretty regularly. So,
Yeah, there's some people that are about this stuff.
yeah, so, I know that's important, I'm sure to you guys, it was important to us too.
We appreciate you doing your homework.
Yeah. So now we're kind of at the point where we do have all these contractors lined up, we do have deposits down. Time is kind of like, kind of running out on us, so,
Mm.
we appreciate all this. What are you gonna do?
I have no
I have more
concerns.
concerns if it fails.
Right, no, I do too.
Right,
It totally
Appreciate
makes
that.
sense, totally makes sense.
right,
And we did the dig safe as well.
yeah, we did all that.
You've got all their information as far as the permits and the dig safe and all that.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
I I have no questions or concerns.
So I'll make a motion to accept this application.
And I will second.
All right, all in favor?
No, we really do, should- yeah, it's a lot,
Jenny-
it's a lot for us, so.
Well, I mean-
No, it is.
It
Yeah.
is,
You
yeah.
did a lot of heavy lifting
We
before
did.
you came
Yeah.
in, so
We
you
did.
made our job very easy.
Yeah, it's great that people are prepared
Good,
to.
this is, again, we're new to the town, obviously, we wanna,
Make sure we cover
you
everything.
know, we wanna make this, you know, our home, so this is good.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
so thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, we
Have a great
appreciate it,
evening.
yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
And
you.
just so I understand, I guess, what is, will we receive something or like an actual, how does this, what,
I
how does?
probably will put a memorandum in the file.
Okay.
This is what, you know,
That's
that's
been
taken
accepted.
place, that yes, that's been accepted, and that you're not moving any closer to the water, and
Absolutely.
we will have a foundation of some kind of permit that you'll come and apply for, so that'll also be in the file.
All right, so that's, so when do we do that? Because we know we already did the.
Not tonight.
No, no, I understand.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so
Okay.
whenever we can come,
Yes.
next day we come in.
All right,
Okay,
yes.
Perfect. All right, again, thank you so much.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting you all.
We'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right, so change of use of the school is not happening tonight.
It is not. So the change of,
While we're on the agenda for that, though, I do have some questions, and I'm hoping to get some examples or some answers. We found out that we don't need a change of use permit right now for what's gonna happen at the school. But I'd like to know how this change of use permit, what prompts one? If we, the cheerleaders, the cheering program is gonna have practices there now, so it's an activity in the rec center, in the gym. There's no real change of use, it's a gym, it's gonna be used as a gym. But what, can you give me examples of what would prompt a change of use permit?
I would guess that if a business bought it and turned it into something. Laura has your answer.
The information I got from Raquel today was any other activities, like a food pantry, other activities, outside of the gym space. So if anyone wanted to use those other classroom type spaces or the kitchen or any of the other classrooms, we would need to submit a change of use. And we didn't want to do one right now because there's only been an MOU submitted for the cheering program.
Right.
And then we didn't want to jeopardize that by doing a change of use at the moment, because then that could potentially be shut down with all the things that the building needs, because we don't even know all of that yet.
Right.
Is that fair?
the change of use will trigger the fire marshal's office.
Right. But if someone comes in and wants to put a library in, do they need a change of use permit? And then somebody wants to put in a, what did you say, the
Food pantry.
food pantry, thank you.
Oh, you mean
Would that
for
be
each
another,
thing?
would that be another use of permit?
I'm thinking, and I may be talking out, but I'm thinking what would happen is that you would word it so it would cover the all-encompassing.
Okay.
Recreation activities.
Yes, yeah.
The less
So that when
specific.
that
So why
building is
isn't
ready,
that cheering group using the two other schools? I'm just curious.
They're all shut. They're all filled. So they have basketball and high school cheering, and they have wrestling's going to be someplace else. But every facility is used, and then the before and after program is using Libby Tozer. And so that in their mats, I don't know if you are familiar with, or people are familiar with cheering, but the mats are like this big, and there's 8 of them that stretch out across the entire gym. And they have some pretty decent tumbler girls that flip 15 times, and one of the gyms is too small for them to adequately kind of do their thing too. So the cheering program specifically for the last 2.5, 3 months has exhausted every resource. They even went to the Lewiston Armory. They went like everywhere they could find to try to get space, and it's all used.
Are you renting it, or they're just using it free and the taxpayers are paid for it?
Well, it's a municipality building, so just like everything else, it's they're currently not funding any specific dollars for it. What they put in their MOU is that they're willing to work with the town. So if there's a substantial increase to like electricity. So the electricity bill last month was about $400. If it's $1,000 next month because cheering's in there 2 hours a day, they're willing to kind of try to fundraise. They don't have any, they're a nonprofit and they don't have anything in their budget because they didn't prepare, like
So they're not
nobody
a
prepared.
part of
for
the
this.
school, this is a, like, competitive cheering program, or
Is it what?
A rec program.
it is, okay.
Right, but is it like you
So it's not connected to the school, it's part of the.
It is,
Okay.
Been okay, but select board though, correct? All right.
I just had questions.
Yeah, no.
I have answers. Well,
And I appreciate
I
that.
would like to take a minute too and give John kudos too. I saw the pictures on Facebook of what you guys did over at Ryan's Point.
Oh,
It looks great. Nice job.
you can see the lake.
Yeah.
We still got a little bit of work to do over there anyway, but,
Have they raised the level yet?
No,
They're not finished, okay.
if the school is sold, what would the permit process be for that with you? Is that, is there a residential permit things that they gotta do, or business, if it's sold for businesses, is it business use of changes?
it would be, I believe it would be a change of use for whoever purchases it.
Okay.
When the transaction happens, if it's currently a school and they're purchasing it and they're not gonna use it as a school any longer, then they would need to go forward with a change of use.
Okay.
Yep, and then that would trigger the fire marshal's office.
and just to follow up on that, is the use of a school anything that teaches somebody something?
No, I don't know that.
I think you're stretching hairs on that.
Education.
Like an exact definition.
I'm looking at just education, because I could do a lot with that.
Well, I think what we're talking is change of use from a public municipal building to a privately owned
Yeah.
business or residence, so
Or resource center, or something to that
the
effect.
change of use would depend on what the purchaser or whatever.
I just didn't know if every business that went in there would have to have a change of use, because
I think it goes back to
we're
kind of like Jenny
doing,
said.
we're cooking cookies in this room or whatever, and we're doing library in this room, and we're doing the food pantry in this, does everybody have to have?
I think it's gonna come down to whoever owns it.
and what
So
they
if somebody buys that building and they want to do all these different things, they'll have to come to us with a plan of what they want to do.
Okay.
And then
And I think if it's in the case of a single owner leasing out these spaces for these, they're gonna get a blanket change of use.
Right.
think it
So
goes kind
We're
of
not
like-
gonna have to do a different one for each business that they bring in as a lease.
The only way that would happen would probably be if they decided they wanted to add something different that wasn't initially planned on, then they may have to come to us.
Okay.
And I think the fire marshals, depending on what kind of assembly's there, would determine how much, what needs to be there for fire protection. Like sheet rocking and that kind of thing.
Thanks.
What we got next?
This is where we're going to do that public hearing. Okay. So we continued the public hearing for Cory and Pet. So I would-
I'll make a motion to reopen the public hearing for the Warrior Pit reclamation plan, sorry.
That's a hard one.
That was a tough one to spit out tonight.
I'll second it.
Bruce seconded it, all right? All in favor?
Mr. Chair.
How are you?
Mr. Lawyer? Mr. Chair, Mr. Lawyer?
So let me, so you have, first of all, I apologize that I'm late. I had a commitment in another community that I came over as soon as I could, so. Have you, anybody did talk all about these two memos? Yeah. I won't describe them, I'll let the authors describe them.
So I have gone down through, you can look, I did this memo, I've gone down through step by step. Did you get a copy of this, Mike?
I did.
Okay, all right. Which, going through the plan and, whether it's complete. Oh,
No, I-
all right.
unless you want.
And would you like to just state your name and like to go through yours?
Good evening. Heather Stolazzi Ward with TRC Companies, and TRC provided a technical review of the reclamation plan submitted by Poirier. So I'm here tonight to, answer any questions that you might have regarding that technical review in support of the project and your review.
So in terms of, if there's any other comments from the public, and then at that point, the board, for my view, can begin the deliberation. I have some questions that I'll have just to kind of make sure that things are out and that, but so we can kind of walk through those questions and at that point, probably close the public hearing before that. And so be moving towards, potentially be moving towards this.
Do we have any of them here?
They were aware of the meeting, right?
Yes. Before we do that, Mike, I don't know if you have there was some kind of information requests that the engineers had. Do you have anything to kind of add to that, and maybe we can go through those slowly so that we can have it on the record?
I would probably like to comment on a couple of those things, so I wasn't, planning to make a presentation, I was just going to comment on some of those.
Okay. Well, so why don't we go through, the TRC memo, and I have some, and what I'm doing here is I'm gonna ask some questions that may appear to be obvious, but it's something that has to be kind of put on the record in your deliberation rather than my guessing, so. So Heather, I've marked a couple of things, I don't know if you wanna, the last two paragraphs on the second page are things that I wanna talk about, so you wanna kind of just, anything you wanna speak to before that?
I'm happy to just kind of list off the conclusion recommendations that we have, or, however you might think it would be best.
Why don't we do that and I'll.
Okay. So we essentially, reviewed all the material submitted by the applicant, and we have 5 essential basic recommendations that we would submit to the planning board. Number 1, we'd recommend adding shrub and tree revegetation requirements for the berm. And of course, the reclaimed buffer also that's proposed to be restored to 2.5 to 1 slope.
So on page 4, Heather, at the very bottom.
She's on the conclusion, yeah.
Oh, yes, I'm at the conclusion on
Great.
Page 4, right at the bottom, those 5 bulleted items. The second one, the second recommendation from our team is we offer that to request confirmation that the necessary MDEP permits have been received for this project. So confirmation of that from the applicant. We recommend adding the condition of approval for post-construction monitoring of grass coverage and plant survival rate. Essentially, that's to ensure, proper erosion control. And then consider requesting information from the applicant about requesting archaeological consultation as per the town's shoreline zoning ordinance. And lastly, we recommend requesting confirmation and documentation of the certification from the town's CEO regarding code violations upon receipt. Overall, technically, we believe it's a fair application. All the basic technical elements appear to be there, in line with industry standards. So, really those 5 recommendations are really what we saw would be, appropriate for the board to consider.
Could you tell me what this archaeological consultation looked like?
So basically what it is the applicant generally writes into the Maine Historic Preservation Commission and requests a desktop review of the project site. And then the State Historic Preservation Officer will write back and, after reviewing their, all their internal documents, to say whether the site has either presence of known archaeological or historic features or the potential for that. And if there's potential, then they would go on to make a recommendation for a actual survey.
So what happens with that recommendation? Is there any teeth to that recommendation?
Yes, so the recommendation that would be received by the applicant from the Maine Historic Preservation Commission, if it's part of a requirement for an application, they would have to then act on that recommendation by MHPC, Maine Historic Preservation Commission. So if MHPC comes back and says, you're all clear, you're good, no further investigation is required, then that's it. They have their documentation, they submit that as part of the application. If MHPC were to come back and say, we either have known record or we have, the potential, we have reason to believe that there could be some sensitive cultural features there, have someone go do an investigation and prepare a report. At that point, generally, the permit authority would say, hey, you got to act upon this. So do your due diligence, take the next step and investigate this further, and then provide documentation. Hope that's clear.
That is one of the things that I wanted to comment on. I'm certainly not an archaeological expert, but I have done archaeological screenings and studies for clients. And typically, they're looking at the top 3 feet of soils on site before disturbance. So this should have occurred, 3 before the permit was issued. And right now the area is disturbed. So they may find something, I don't know if that would be significant, because without finding it in place, most of the archaeological digs map. Most of them map where they find things, and they find fire pits, and they find tools, and they find huts, and at this point, it's probably almost like so
If there were anything there.
I had talked earlier with the code officer and the attorney that I didn't think that was necessary for this project because of the significant disturbance of the site. And that's up to you.
So the language of this part of the ordinance says it's, I'll read the piece that we apply here. Any proposed land use activity involving soil disturbance on or adjacent to sites listed on the National Register of Historic Places as determined by the permitting authority. And so you've got to determine whether or not that's something that should be required or not.
Also, years ago, you could get a simple walk-through screening for a couple $1,000. The last time we did this was in 18. It was 40 site, 6 weeks. Because then we can screening. I don't know if that's still the case, but that's what happened last time. Not.
Are there other, why don't, is there anything else on the archaeology? Maybe go down to the other recommendations as well, and get your thoughts on those?
We are not proposing trees and shrubs, so obviously that's something we left to the board. We don't think that in this case, with the height of the slope and the length of the slope, and the lack of watershed from the top down, that it's necessary. I do indicate that they recommended a monitoring program. And, those could be something that's adding in, if we're gonna monitor it for 3 years. If we see a problem, we could add them in the second year, but that's again, up to you. That was just my comment. I didn't see the need as I've done our plan, worked with our engineer. But, if we're gonna monitor, we don't necessarily need to put it in at the time of reclamation, we could put it in later on. Monitoring and consistency. Maybe other reason why we don't do it, but that's what I was going to the other one, there is no DEP application pending. My conversations with DEP is to wait until the town process is complete. Okay. I'll be waiting until then. Get through that process.
Shrubs and trees are pretty important to me.
I think that's,
There were trees there before, plus it does help to curb the erosion. I know that planting grass does, but I really think that some trees and shrubs should be.
I have to agree, there's something that I'm kind of asking about since the soul started, just kind of, one, to put things kind of back, but it also helps hold things in place, and it might help kind of, because they were worried about trees and seeing into the pit, this and that, so I can see that it could be beneficial to have both for 2 reasons, to help.
And we heard from the abutter, the concern that some of the trees have been lost. They want to get some back.
The shrubbery is consistent with the 2003 plan. It doesn't just talk with saplings and steels, it talks about hardy shrubs.
I'd be okay with shrubs.
As well as trees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a mix.
Yeah.
And again, it's a chief. Get an item from the plan.
Yes.
2003 recommended that if you add trees, you add certain species. Recommended in 2016, if you add trees, there are certain species you add. Not required. Okay, but again, we have a consultant and code officer, and whatever, so you tell us. We're hoping to get through the process. Before.
Anything, and you Mike talked about the monitoring kind of in the context of the vegetation. Anything else you want to comment on that?
Just, it's fine if the town wants it. I'm not sure who's gonna do it. If we're being required to pay for it or we're doing it. Anything that adds cost at this point is problematic for us, but again, you're in the driver's seat now.
Who, I'm asking you, Danny, I guess in a sense, I don't know if you've dealt with a situation. Like, who does monitor it? Do we have somebody from the town, somebody that they do, so it's like a neutral in the middle? Or is it just one party for a community, like?
I'm not sure. My concern, see, before when this all started, Mark Stombeck of Lisbon, because he was the acting CEO, he was monitoring it. I've been monitoring it now. I go every so many weeks and take pictures to see what's been moved and what's not, and then it's in frames. I try. And so I think that would be up to the board, how they wanted to set it up. I think it would have to be a little bit more organized. I've just been kind of keeping track of how kind of work has been going on in there. I think the CEO could do it. Or you
It's really just a matter of just making sure the grass hasn't died. And
Like the documentation as well.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that'd be that, but,
I mean,
yeah,
If
we're not
you're
talking soil
comfortable
tests.
doing that, yeah, I definitely
I've taken a soil erosion.
So with that being said, when you say monitoring the, what was your recommendation? Like to have our CEO or have a firm, or I'm just trying to get some feedback on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, just a qualified individual, someone that has a history of the site would be, totally relevant. That'd be great. It's local, it's nearby. We didn't have, a person in mind, but someone qualified to do that, certainly would, be on our,
In other words, it's pretty much up to us.
on our.
No, that's fine. I'm just.
If you agree with this monitoring for 3 years, what would happen hypothetically if Mr. Poirier sold the pit next year?
It's a good question.
It would,
it runs with the,
yeah,
it's a permit that runs with the
With the site.
with
the
the site.
purchaser would be responsible
Hold on a
for
second.
continuing.
And there's also a consent judgment on here to remedy the notice of violation for the code issues. That actually has a restriction from conveyance in other communities and that's a common piece in my practice. Typically what that means is that it brings the town to have a voice at the table, so making sure that somebody coming in knows what is going on, that they have a plan that gets funded, and so it's not just, that an owner isn't just trying to get out of the money.
It's like with the Superfund sites, if somebody buys the factory that spoiled the soil, the purchaser is still responsible for remediation.
And with the piece in the consent judgment, if that happened, that it was transferred without the responsibility, without the town's agreement, then Mr. Poirier and his company would still be responsible along with the new owner. And so that's a way to kind of make sure you don't end up in a conversation after they purchase something that they're in a very different situation.
We're also willing to monitor it and send reports to the code officer, but I assume you might not, the code officer or somebody else. Do it. So, I mean, we're gonna work with whoever does it.
I'm good with, if Jenny's been doing it and she's kind of familiar with how it looks, and if she's gonna continue with her photos and at least like a monthly report, I think that's pretty fair.
I think they were looking for annual report, right?
That was our recommendation
Just so,
annually.
yeah, it's up to you.
You know,
Well, she already said she's been going by
Yeah.
on a regular basis, so.
The reason why I've been going by on a regular basis is because of the consent judgment and everything, and because of the sensitivity of anything's moved, it basically is to protect the town, protect Mr. Poirier, and protect
Right.
us Samuel.
So I personally feel if she keeps that up, that's protecting the town and the whole situation, that we're still in the right and there isn't any further violations happening.
Well, this is talking about after it's done, I don't think it has to be monthly. Once everything is done, the consent judgment and all that stuff.
Heather, how would you describe the qualifications that are needed for something like this?
I mean, someone familiar with best management practices and main sediment erosion control, certainly someone that is certified by the state of Maine would be, I wouldn't say it would be a requirement, but it certainly would be helpful. State of Maine has sediment and erosion control certification that you can obtain. I don't know if you have it, Ginny. Yep.
I have to see like some pictures.
Yes.
I have it.
Yeah.
I bet I already find some.
Yeah. I mean, and then certainly anyone in the technical fields of civil engineering or, anyone that participates in the main third-party environmental inspectors program would be a qualified individual. Some contractors also have main sediment and erosion control certification.
I believe, doesn't Ray have that?
I would be surprised if it doesn't.
I can't remember, I think.
You have to be certified in working children areas.
I think,
So if I could maybe make a recommendation that it's, in terms of what's in the order, that we put in that monitoring is expected, we'll have language from the engineer's report, and have to be an obligation of the applicant to pay for. with the expectation that Ginny would continue to do it, potentially needing to get any certifications that are required. The reason that I do that to staff is that if Ginny wins the lottery, like, isn't here next month,
Or I get hit by a cow. You never know.
right, that somebody coming in either may not have that experience or may not be up to speed yet, so that would be some kind of a backstop.
Your- you-
So that's the revegetation. There any comments from the board on the DEP application? Mr. Porter's response to that one.
Well, he's waiting for,
So when you say he's waiting for, the board, is he waiting for the select board?
No.
Or for?
Planning board. Is what I understand. I mean, he's been copied on everything that we've been
so
doing.
we can call that requesting confirmation once we've approved confirmation that they did. How would that work?
Mike, what's your expectation once the board says, yep, here's the order, and votes on it? How long do you think that process will take?
With DEP. I guess I'd be talking to them as to whether or not they wanted me to submit it right away or wait until the recommendation is complete. That's where I would be. So it could be at the end of the recommendation, it could be, it could be, I don't expect the process to take long.
But I think the question for the board is kind of that sounds to me like it's a condition of approval. There's approval and kind of how that would be worded. I guess in the first instance, hear from you after speaking with you, what they have.
Sounds to me like we should word it that by the end of the reclamation, or by the reclamation completion, we should be that we need to receive that. And if it's not approved by them, then obviously we're gonna have to fix whatever we need to require.
And is that consistent with your?
I couldn't quite hear.
So, it seems to me like we should write this in we would require the NDEP permit by the time the reclamation is complete. And obviously, if it's not, and if DEP doesn't approve it, you would have to fix whatever they tell them to fix. But we just need to we want to make sure we have that paperwork.
Yeah, often I'll see most municipal approvals conditional upon all federal, state, and local
Yeah.
required permits. So it's not an unusual condition of approval. So yeah, I agree.
And in this case, would you see that before work commences, that happens? I mean, what's the sequence that condition gets fulfilled in your experience?
Well, I mean, it would be, I'm understanding you correctly, it would be, the condition would be fulfilled after, town would offer their conditional approval, and then the applicant would go receive their approval from, whatever state agency was required, and then submit to the town, and then it would be fulfilled. The conditions would be fulfilled. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, he was saying that he expects that they would do it once it's complete, they would approve it.
Is that like, I just want to make sure I'm here correctly, is that as a norm, if the contingency is in place, that you will have the permit submitted to Jenny once the reclamation is completed, and then if there's any corrections or changes needed, he would be liable to make those changes to be in ordinance with the permit, right? Okay, I just want to make sure I was hearing that correctly, that's all.
Others comfortable with that?
And are we giving him I know by the end, but like, is there a time frame? Let's say this, you're saying you want it done fairly quick, and I'm sure Ray does too, I'm sure he wants this all behind him. But what's to say, like,
Do we have a deadline?
Yeah.
There's a deadline to make consent judgment.
okay,
So, February 26th, what's called phase one, which is the stabilization of the bank, of the berm, excuse me. And they kind of brought out to the 2.5 to 1 slope, but there's no buffer.
Right.
And then over the course of 2 or 3 years, I forget what,
2028, I think.
that sounds right. Then at that point, he's got to have, at the end of 2020, it has to have 30 feet.
Right, so
Okay.
they're already built.
well,
in.
that's, I guess, why, what my question, because I don't want to be like 5 years, 6 years from now, we're still waiting for Jenny to receive the permit. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I was just wondering if there was a time frame for this whole plan.
Well, it could be the same timeframe as what's in the judgment by 2028. Is that-
Well, that's,
Yeah.
Why then at the latest?
There's a, it shouldn't affect this board's work, but in terms of, there is an appeal to the main law court pending on the judgment that was pending in court. That was by the abutters. So there's still this, and as I understand their argument so far, it's that 30 feet isn't enough. It's got to be 50, got to be more, 50 or 100. It's not sure exactly what their position will be. So, I shared this with their attorney today. I don't think that stops the board's work, because you got to do 100. First, got to do 30.
Right. Right.
So, but that comes into play in terms of the deadline, and that's that 2-year deadline is built out, or 3-year deadline is built out.
So will they have to come back to us if the judge rules in favor of the abutters?
That's a TBD. And, at this point, my recommendation is the board completes its work on the plan. That may
Well, that's why I
not
meant,
be
we
built,
completed, are they gonna have to come back for a modification?
Probably.
Okay.
I don't want to get too far down.
No, I don't wanna hold up and wait for the court, so.
That's wise.
So I'm inclined to agree that the archaeological consultation is pretty much a dead issue, since the soil has already been moved and stirred around, and if there was anything of archaeological, it's not there anymore.
I don't necessarily agree with that, just for that, if there is anything remaining, it should be preserved, but, I don't want to hold the process up either. But I do think there should be at least a quick look. Yeah, it did happen in 2023, I mean, was that 03? But it was supposed to happen, and it was supposed to be done. And then again, in 2016, when the violations continued to happen, that's when we started. Nothing was done then, so I'm not sure if I'm completely comfortable with it.
And nothing was done in 2003.
I didn't see anything in the file folder material that was able to. I did search your file for everything I could find. Ray had no records, but I searched your file folders, and I went through each one page by page. They weren't very thick, okay? There wasn't very much in it back there. I think a copy of it. No archaeological. Could have been somebody sent something to, but I didn't see any response or any letter.
I'd be more comfortable with it being done personally.
Historic
Not like
resources
my
would have a
personal-
record of her review and stuff, wouldn't it? So the historic resources would have a record if that review was done, wouldn't it?
I don't know their record keeping, the personnel has changed now, so, I don't know if they keep those, I'm sure they do, have a fairly good record of various sites, which they don't publicize too well. because they want people to operate.
So I agree with Rachel. I think we should include something in the minimum, at least a letter of the historical society.
Kind of thing, so. Multiple to accept.
What do you think?
What is the town think? What would the town want? I think that's the position that, you know, if you weren't a part of this board, possibly, how would you feel? If the board made a decision, would you say they made the right decision? Because everybody's gonna be on the fence. A lot of people are gonna be on, but.
Right, and I'd rather err in caution and.
Yeah, I guess it would be more friendly, less than.
Because no one's gonna say, probably that board, you know, they made them do that. They're gonna say that board didn't make them do that.
Exactly. So in terms of the ordinance says, so as determined by the planning authority, shall be submitted by the applicant to the Maine Historic Preservation Commission for review and comment at least 20 days prior to action being taken by the planning authority. So they'll, so that's the timeline, and then you shall consider any comments received. Before we make a decision. So that's
The process is typically sending a map of the site, USGS map of the site to them. And they respond with something exists.
Well, that doesn't sound particularly onerous, so I think maybe.
I think, yeah.
If they come back
I
and
mean, I'm
say
not
something is
numbered.
warranted,
So
that's where it gets
story.
on.
Yeah.
Let's be safe, sure.
So let's be clear that you want us to send a letter and see what it says, or you want to do a study. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So,
Right.
yeah,
You
want
send a
to
letter and you
understand
say, do we need anything?
I'm satisfied.
Yeah, send a letter, and if the commission feels it should be looked into further.
Well, and send a letter and probably see what it says at that point.
Right,
Yeah.
right, make it a two-part, basically, get the letter, see what it says, depending on what the letter says, will determine whether a study is needed. Or we want to move forward with the study.
Study can only be done when people can hand dig, probably next summer. No work can be done on the site until that's done.
And I understand that, but I feel like it's putting the best foot forward. And if you're feeling that nothing's disturbed, or it's already been disturbed, or there's nothing there, then the letter will show that, and we can move forward. If the letter shows otherwise, then we need to take a step back and reevaluate it and do what's best.
I think it's right, yeah. It's right,
And then revegetation, trees, shrubs, or.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah. Like to see a mix of trees and shrubs. Yeah. There were trees and shrubs there before, it only makes sense.
So how do we determine what that mix is?
That's a good question.
and also the coverage, do we want it across the entire plane, or just within 10, 15, 20, whatever feet of the current tree line?
Across, and if they're redoing that whole bank needs to be.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, do we want it, yeah,
I don't think 10 feet.
do we want it on the whole slope?
Right, we're gonna ensure that they're gonna erode again, that they're not gonna lose the trees in the future. It's gonna help firm stuff up on the top.
So the engineer's report suggests using as a frame of reference where something has been, some certain harvesting has happened. Now, they're not saying, and I guess it's important to kind of understand where the standard comes from. It comes from the shoreline zone ordinance after there's been a clearing after a site's been cleared. So this is, and so there's been evidence presented to the board that there were trees there. There were evidence presented to the board that there were not trees there when Mr. Poirier bought it. The engineer's not taking a position on that, but has offered that section of the code as a place to use fishing. So, Mike, you're
We don't need it. We won't erode. I'm not worried about it. But if you want trees, you need to tell us what you want. We had talked about trees and what you recommend. How many what you want. If it's replacing something because of shoreline zoning, it's different than putting a buffer in for butters, because they might see something. Because they can't
I
see
think
the
it's to
sketch.
try to find a common ground for
Yeah.
both sides,
Yeah.
like the ordinances and the butters. We're trying to be fair across the board and protect the town and meet in the middle.
Understood.
Jimmy, what's the best, what's the best way to kind of come up with a proposal for, that's specific, I'm not.
I think the mix from shrubs, hardy shrubs, and, let them see it, hopefully let them see it, but also some hardwood trees. A little bit. And it's hard to call it, and I can call it the state or.
So you're not talking about the pine seedlings that we talked about? Because we had talked about 18-inch
We talked about
seedlings
saplings,
spread out along the
yes.
top.
I forget, what is the mix of vegetation on the berm now? Is it mostly hardwood?
Yeah.
Or is it a mix of hardwood and pine?
It was pine.
Yeah.
The field that was cut was pine. You
Okay.
can see it clear from the photos.
Yeah. Okay.
But the slope is hardwood. Typically, reclamation of the pit, they'll look at the pine seedlings because pit is hard necessarily to grow. It's not easy to grow trees out.
And pine grows pretty quickly.
So they put the pine seedlings 18 inches high and they spread them out. They can, go back in a few years and most likely they'll be trees.
Isn't it best though, when we know what kind of soil is best to grow there? Like the,
Pit reclamation does give some guidance on the trees that you should consider. Every time I've had a violation of the pit with DEP, we put the pine saplings in, the pine, the little 18-inch seedlings. And we put them- in some cases, I put them in 2 or 3 tags. And they didn't plant it. They didn't take it. Because it was a drought year or dry year, or whatever else. But I've gone back to one of those sites, I think I told you that, one of those sites, I went back, just 20 years later, and there's pines there.
Why don't we kind of come back with, some kind of proposed language and see it?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be difficult,
No,
I'm just
I
trying
don't
to
think
get
you
a
are.
sense of what you're trying to.
I don't think you are, because this is not something that's gonna prevent the board acting tonight on the final draft. So let's
Yeah.
get language that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's specific and enforceable, but also gets,
Do we want to talk about the depth to which the seedlings are put in, 20 feet from the current tree line, or all the way down the slope, or?
So I think that's an important question. So just as a reminder, currently there's trees up there, and then there's the berm, which in the document, we're actually using a legal line rather than the actual berm because it kind of goes on. But it's wooded up to there, it's overhanging a there, at least it was a year ago on the site. Then there's gonna be a 30-foot buffer that's essentially flat there, and then it's gonna slope down after that. So
Okay, the question is, we want just on the flat, and do we need to specify? Do we want it just on the 30 feet of flat, or we want some on the slope as well. I know some of the abutters think it should be all trees, because they still
I
think
don't
it was
know,
all
trees on
but
slopes don't necessarily.
No.
Maybe some
it's a very
and then the
gentle
seeds.
slope.
I was gonna suggest to you, it should be on the top.
Right.
We need detention
Yeah, I think on the
ponds,
flat minimum,
detention ponds and things with slopes. They don't, 2.5, 3 to 1 slopes.
uh,
They don't let you put trees on them because they'll fall.
okay, all right, that answers the question.
I think you put it on the 30 foot at the top, it's about 600 feet long.
And I find that satisfactory.
And then I think on the slope, we'll do the grass covering.
Well, that's going everywhere anyway.
All right, so planting on the reclaimed buffer and then the slope as they had planned, and then Ginny and we'll kind of work up with the whole, and work with Mike and
Yep.
kind of figure out what the words for that will be.
I can't remember what the spacing is, but it's 5 to 10 feet spacing or something like that.
That's good, Jason.
So just to kind of go through these 5 points from the applicant will send a letter to the commission, to the Historic Preservation Commission about what it is on the list. The planting of trees and shrubs will be under the reclaimed buffer, and I continue to come back to what we're planting and how frequently. The DEP application will be just a condition that it's done before the 2028 deadline, the last compliance date, consent judgment. And then in the monitoring, there's kind of the baseline will be that the applicant will pay for it, the town's monitoring, but the expectation is that the code enforcement officer, at least this code enforcement officer.
As an alternative, can you consider us representing Ray doing it and sending it to a code officer as opposed to cash out of the pocket for Ray? That's up to you.
I mean, I guess what I would suggest is maybe have it be that that's the default and kind of proposal to the then code enforcement officer for an alternative. And if that person wants to come back to the board for informal inspection, great, but leave it in this office's decision about what to do.
The idea would be that we would inspect it a couple times a year and then send report in pictures and stuff saying,
Well, isn't it if they sent the report and then it wasn't what they had stated in the report, and fine, but no, that's not the way that's going on, then they're gonna still be liable for that work. So it's
no
not like-
engineer is gonna
Right,
give up his license because
right, exactly.
the client didn't do what he needed
So,
to.
I think that for me, that would work because you're still liable for the report that's being submitted.
And from a efficiency or kind of authority place, the code enforcement officer has statutory authority to go into any property to inspect, and so it lines up with existing authority there. All right, so we'll work on language and how that works. Heather, anything to add from your report that has been best to be highlighted?
No, I think you got all the highlights of our recommendations, so I think you hit it.
So there was a comment in your report, Heather, that there was no CEO certification. Now, that probably makes sense because the language that comes from the language in the site review plan that there's no development approval unless the CEO certifies that it's code compliant. Here you've got a chicken and egg problem where you need a reclamation plan because it's not code compliant.
Right.
So you can't expect it to be code compliant to get a reclamation plan. What I would suggest is that, and so the ordinance says the board can't waive this requirement. It's very, very strong language. This reclamation bill isn't being considered under the ordinance because it doesn't apply for that similar F-22 situation. What I would suggest is that Ginny's put in her memo what she recommends, which is that it's as far as she knows, it's compliant with codes except for the ones that are enforced under consent judgment. And that then in the approval, it says there's a condition that says there's no further application will be accepted until it's complete. And then that way I want it to be clear that there's not an implicit waiver that this site is kind of somehow not grandfathered, but it's waived. So that's my suggestion. I would do that.
I couldn't find the section that they were referencing, so I looked, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I think it's section 4H, et cetera, but it's one of it's the kind of
But they
context,
had in the memo, I read EF, I looked for EF, and, you know, so it doesn't matter, it's really else, that's you.
That's some other things I wanted to go over. So the I've done a draft of a proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law that will take from some from the consent judgment, the requirements of the consent judgment, of what is required, and some from the procedures that we adopted in November. So I'm not going to kind of read through each of those. You'll have a document to review probably the next week. The piece that we should discuss is the question is kind of how do you know whether to approve a plan? And so it's the standard, and the procedures say the standard is found in the ordinance in one piece of the shoreline zoning code, and then for the reclamations, there's 3 pieces there, and then 1 piece of code in the site plan review. So in the shoreline zoning, the engineer has reviewed both of those sections and kind of gone down piece by piece. So the requirements, let me read from the code and then. So this is in section 15M is deals with mineral exploration and extraction. The M3 is where it deals with the reclamation plan. So the first requirement is that all debris, stumps, and similar materials shall be removed for disposal in an approved location or shall be buried on site. Only materials generated on site may be buried and covered on site. So that's the engineers found that the reclamation plan met that. Are you comfortable with that? That's the case. The second one is that the final grade of slope shall be 2.5 to 1 slope or flatter. The third is that the topsoil or loam shall be retained to cover all disturbed land areas, which shall be reseeded and stabilized with vegetation native to the area. Additional topsoil or loam shall be obtained from off-site sources if necessary to complete. Again, that was found to exist. Comfortable with that? So in terms of the review criteria, so this is in the review criteria specifically for if there's a lot across the street and Mr. Gatto's representing somebody, he would come forward with these, unless it's permit by rule in the DEP, he would come forward and do these review criteria. Some of these in the reclamation plan says it doesn't apply because it speaks to excavation, and here there's simply just reclamation. And so the procedure is just, he's got to speak to all of them, and then you need to decide whether or not they're met. So the first one is a buffer strip of not less than 50 feet shall be maintained between the location of any extraction material and all property This buffer strip may be reduced to 25 feet with written consent from abutting property owners. It may reduce the road setback, the front setback to 25 feet from the right of way of a public road, if in the opinion of the board, suitable buffers and fences are provided. Now, the applicant's perspective is that that is not required because it deals with excavation. I don't have a letter up, so I'm paraphrasing.
And I realized that I left, well, this much data on my desk at college, so, I believe that is how I responded to that question, that this is a reclamation, and we're trying to reclaim what was already excavated.
So,
Actually, we do have that section.
okay.
You're on the site plan review side.
Yes, that's right.
Just do your thing. Just do your thing.
Sorry, I had this open and for some reason it closed when I shifted my. Mike, it's on page 10. So is the board comfortable with that it's, because I think the piece that he's speaking to is it's 50, a buffer shall be maintained between the location of any extraction of materials.
Yeah, I can read what I said, but I haven't in front of me. Extraction of material, the site stopped in December 22nd, 2023, with the issuance of the NOV by the town of Sabattis. We are now seeking approval from the planning board only to reclaim the property since extraction activities have ended. This section is not, is the way I say it.
Is the board comfortable with that?
No further extraction, basically, just
Yeah.
leaving it.
Yeah. Second one is buffers may be eliminated between abutting properties containing pits. If no abutting property.
Yeah, this is not appropriate.
Third one is all petroleum products shall be kept out of the pit and no refueling or oil changes shall be conducted in the pit unless such activities comply with applicable standards like DEP and a spill prevention and countermeasure plan is provided. So there's no petroleum products stored there, none will be stored during the reclamation process. No oil changes done in the property, none will be done during the reclamation process. Any refueling will be done according to state law. So, the question I have with that one is there's no spill prevention and countermeasure plan provided, which is the other piece of that. So is refueling going to be done off-site?
I'd like to say yes, but I don't.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Typically, you have the oil company come and they have their spill prevention mechanisms and they refuel and they have all the stuff they need to do that. So when you have an excavator, a large excavator or a large loader, you refuel them on the site. And the oil company that's refueling has their own.
Also, they're not done by them, they're done by.
That's what I've been seeing with most of my contractors. I don't know
Done by
why.
a fuel contractor.
Yeah, I think fuel contract comes in and goes. Ray may have a spill prevention countermeasure plan, but I doubt it.
One would presume the fuel contractor.
You know, you have licensed,
Yeah, practice.
licensed drivers that do that, yes. Yeah, all the pit operators know if they spill something, they pick it up, put it in a bucket, put it in the dump truck that goes outside.
So can you kind of maybe in a subsequent letter, might just address that for the next meeting, or just close that loop?
You want the fueling procedures.
Or just if it's gonna be, if he's gonna use this is the plan to use a contractor, his expectations X, he's provided to the CEO, something, whatever that proposal is. I mean, just because it's good. So this next one is no storage or dumping of liquid of any substance that could produce harmful leachate unless it's placed in a covered. So there's none, the definition process.
No, we're just gonna use the drill on site.
No oiling of access and haul roads is permitted.
Practice some stuff years ago. By law.
The next two you had indicated were not applicable to the next version. No gravel shall be excavated below a position that's 2 feet above the seasonal high water table. Next one is no ditches, trenches, or pumping or other method shall be used to lower the water table to permit more gravel extraction. Comfortable with that thought. This one is the same rationale, it's not applicable. Is access to the pit shall be strictly controlled. So this standard doesn't have the word excavation in it. So this is a question. So I might bring and speak to that.
There is a gate at site. It's usually open, but there is a gate at site. But Marty, the answer was it's no excavation.
So then basically we're looking for confirmation that the gates have been closed and no excavation's gonna happen. I just want to be clear of what.
Is that, initially the application said, because the excavation is done, that doesn't apply. So do you agree? And if you don't agree, what do you want?
I don't agree just because the kids go out there and mess around in the sand pit. I mean, when I was a kid, that's where we went out there and done, you know.
I've never seen anybody else.
No, and most contractors have been there, they tell you.
Yeah.
But after hours, I don't know.
Well, when we were there last year, or
Yeah.
later, I saw no
Yeah.
evidence.
Didn't even have.
I didn't see any trail bike tire
Right,
marks.
but if he's heading now, and it's easy enough to jump out and do the gate, kind of to piggyback off what you're saying,
Yeah.
to put the precedence that nobody needs to be in there but Ray and his workers. And
I will say that I went there one day in the afternoon and there was a car that was parked in there and it was a lagger from another site looking at the geological.
Good geological survey.
Right. So,
It's a hobby.
Yes, John.
About a year ago, when you had a meeting for this, and a lot of the abutters were here, the two women who were over here were saying they had seen kids many times playing on that bank, and it was a steep bank, and they were gonna get hurt.
And they could do that coming from
Right, but
F. Sanborn.
I'm just saying,
right, John's bringing up a valid point, that
Oh, yeah.
there have
No, I
been
agree.
complaints about people being in there that shouldn't be in there. And Ray can't control that when he's not there, he can control it while he's there, but when he's not there, he can't control it, so. He can jump out real quick and shut the gate, throw a lock on it. Should be easy enough.
There's a consensus that the access road would be.
I think that would probably be good for at least liability reasons.
Yeah.
For rated
At
liability.
least until this is done.
Right.
I think just for the sake
One
of,
less thing to worry about. I mean, we know that we can't control people
Yeah.
coming over the top of the ground.
you know, that.
People are gonna be-
Right, this is due diligence to protect Ray from liability.
Anything else on that before? Reclaimed slopes. 2-to-1 ratio, and it's going to exceed that. Reclamation of the pit shall not be made with any substance that either harmful leachate or creating a permeable base.
There we go.
Stumps and grubbing shall be disposed of in a manner approved by the board and in conformance with this also regulations. The statute says, and the board, the application says in compliance with the representation of the state, presumably with the board would have approved it, so it would be comfortable with that. Suitable traffic control measures, they're saying that there's, that will be the same as usual. And, so those are all those requirements. Any other comments to put into the order in addition to finance things?
I think we covered a lot.
So the one of the things that was, that has been raised is there was an analysis, there was a concern about the stability of that Sanborn Road early on in the process. Ray had an engineer to do an analysis of it. One of the things in the TRC memo, they looked at that and found that there was reasonable, so that's, I guess, I don't know. Those are the big, that just came up to do that. So I, because there's some information we're ready to get from the applicant, I would keep open the public hearing. I'll have a draft prepared, and sent around so you can review it and make sure it's consistent with where you are, and then conceivably and vote on that.
November 20. Closer than I thought I would be.
I know, I was impressed, but I just happened to have it on the piece of paper.
So that's Thanksgiving week.
Yeah. So Tuesday.
I will be out of the country, but I'll have a colleague here that sit
He's on, I'm up in the air.
Be out on the water somewhere.
All right, so we're gonna have a forum.
Well, is there any way we can move it to not Thanksgiving week, maybe the week before?
Shouldn't be the week before because there's that 20-day period.
Okay.
Right.
You're back from the start.
And Noel's scheduled for that meeting too.
Well, I just want to make sure we have a quorum.
Well, we're gonna have a new alternate, right?
So as long as we have
The
three,
selectmen would have to.
as long as we have three.
We're not there, my brother. And it was lightning fast.
Are you gonna be able to?
Pancreatic cancer.
Thanksgiving week.
Yeah.
I basically live upstairs. So.
Thought you lived in Mexico.
I live in Mexico for about 3 hours a night.
I'll be out steep the next day, but I'll be there.
Well, plus board meetings over there.
So are you gonna have the meeting on the 25th? And is it just gonna be to go over the findings?
I think we're gonna need to hear back from, potentially from the commission and hear the proposals on the other pieces that we talked about.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Florida, so I'm trying to decide whether I'm coming back or not. I can get you the information for sure. And we would have a chance to look at the findings at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the meeting starting at 6:30 or 7?
6:30. That's our new time.
Okay. So I thought it was really late.
So we need to make a motion to keep the public hearing open until,
So just
Well, to-
continue.
to-
Well,
continue it
it's-
until
yeah.
next month.
so I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing until November 25th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor? Thank
As
you.
long as Jimmy's here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A new alternate. With interest.
You have
We
a-
have to- we really shouldn't have to mark on the vote.
Sam's in here.
The code enforcement business?
So, I had those other four.
It's special, because I can do
Jump
stuff
on
like
and,
that too.
So I don't know if anybody else had a chance to go through those. We had the junk order, so that was the very top. And those that were going out. I think all of that should be put in the schedule and just rewrite it.
My kids remind me of that every day at work.
That's state law.
How it goes.
That's out of state law.
Right,
Oh, is it?
so
So that, then you.
we have,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Is doing a codification. I have set out all the ordinances. What she's gonna do is she will streamline them and bring them up to state regulations so that all the wording is in there.
And,
Right,
Yes.
of course, because that's what she does.
Very,
We didn't want to have to go to weekly meetings.
That's
No,
what she does.
and you know, it's nice to be able to just really go through all of it, clean it up, make sure all your references are correct, make sure et cetera, et cetera.
This is something we've been trying to do for 5 years.
We don't have anything in there for LD 2003, so that has to be incorporated. There's
Yeah.
another LD 189, I believe, that's the governor has signed. That's gonna be incorporated in, so the
So the
language is
deal one is
constantly,
done.
yes.
Oh,
And
wow.
so what happens is that the recodification, we'll have to review it. The recodification,
You guys have more than that.
all at once, right? And then, if you want, once it's all brought up, if there's something you wanna add or something to that effect, like say you want to go to, all right, for instance.
Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you
Thank you,
very much, Heather, appreciate your
You're
work.
welcome.
LD 2003 mentions about mobile homes in zone, in zoning, and you're not allowed to do that anymore. So what it would do though, what you could do is state that if there's anything that was older than 1995 or something like that, and it has to have a pitch to be. So those are the kinds of things that you could put in an ordinance, and you may want to do that like later, if you have like a preference, but you can't stop right now, you don't.
And, think that it was, okay, we can go through and do both at the same time, or we can focus on cleaning it all up, getting it where it needs to be, and then, okay, if there's specifics we want to do on top of that, then focus on them, but get all of this kind of mundane work just out of the way and done. That way we can work.
Yeah, because I know we had a serious grind trying to get done some of the ones that we did. I think this will Definitely.
And they technically, it should go to the lawyer. All
Yeah.
ordinances written
Yes.
should go to the lawyer for review before it goes to the town.
Yeah. So we have a little, I came in up with Jim a few weeks ago, we have a thing going, so I'm gonna try to, I'll get stuff with them done, send them over, for review, but really at this point, I'm going through for, to be in line with what is this now, legislative wise, and just kind of making sure there's a.
Yeah, we did go through it once.
It's long.
Writing ordinances is very difficult for the app, for anybody.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you got state stuff in there that should be there to protect you. That should have some bite to
Yeah.
it, so to speak. Sometimes it even has layouts.
We've been
of
talking about
exactly what's
marijuana
supposed
ordinance
to
for
happen.
3 years now.
So,
The difference between a may and a must is substantive, so I think it'll be nice to just be able to go through and really get the consistency there. And the other good part of that, sorry, the other good part about it is being that I do work with a bunch of other municipalities, it's nice because I have the frame of reference, okay, somebody might handle it like this, that if, going forward, you guys have questions or, just ideas of things you want to change, I do have that perspective.
And we're gonna do these more as like a workshop than just like a public.
I think that would be nice, if we could just take it all, talk about it, and then, we come back and do that in front of the public setting with the hearing and, everything under.
Because I think it's a good way for us to, as the planning board, to understand our ordinances. I refer to my ordinances during meetings, people see me do it.
Yeah.
We're going on site, I'm doing the research ahead of time.
Yeah.
To make sure I've reached out to Jenny or off, different things. So it'd be nice to be a part of it so that I'm not just.
I just send it in a paper and you're like, cool.
All right, so I can give you an example. Chickens. We have a thing where, I know, right? You have a thing in your ordinances that states under an acre, right? Well, guess what? We have a law, the state of Maine, that talks about right to food.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I can't enforce having chickens removed from less than an acre. You see what I'm saying? So it's nice to have the clarity. Ordinances are always somewhat subjective a little bit, but these are really simple.
There you go.
Are these gonna be building code ordinances only, or?
No.
All ordinances.
There's all the town ordinances.
We follow Lubec. Yeah. We
Some
follow
of
Lubec.
some of the ordinances are Sabatis sites specific.
Yep.
That you may not know what was intended when it was passed.
Well, some of them were written for a single purpose.
Right.
Those are usually the worst ordinances.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's the thing,
Yes,
and,
And
I
usually a
appreciate-
That's
special
why we
interest.
want to
Yes.
keep those.
Exactly.
and site-specific thing, that's, that's not always a good thing, because people should be looking at it with the intention of the code and the code requirements, and then the existing characteristics on site, not, a lot by lot basis. I know how to update ordinances, so I will obviously be in communication with the planning board and not, oversee anything that's important to Sabatis, but in general.
Some of the older residents in town may remember the area that was the Sabatis Village that was in some of the ordinances, but
Is
knows
that
what the
relevant?
Sabatis Village area was.
Yes,
The other thing is, these changes that are proposed, are they all gonna go to town meeting for a vote?
yes.
Well, they
Yeah.
have-
Yeah, yeah,
They're not official till the town approves.
yeah.
Right,
Exactly.
okay.
So basically, like what I was asking is to do a workshop so that we can go over them, add our input, insight, may or may, add anything we suggest and be able to actually review them versus
Yeah, but
getting stopped in a sentence for a question.
that's.
Then when we get a good idea, we can bring it out to you guys and say, these are the things that, if I'm understanding correctly. So that way we can actually get down to it and get stuff done and get it pushed out.
And the
For
state's
everybody.
the state's driving a big bus right now of what the towns and municipalities can do. So if you're looking like at building ordinances, your population is over 5,000, so you follow Maine's new bet.
Yeah.
2021, you have no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could kick some people out of town.
I've had quite a few people say that as well. If only we were under 4,000 people, yeah.
But some of them, yeah, they just need to be cleaned up and brought up.
Oh, yeah.
In my previous town, it was the same kind of thing. Some changes in that previous town were voted on and then never changed. In the process of people leaving, and everybody wants to know what happened to that language.
Yeah.
In
Well,
one
yeah, we
town,
had that problem. We
That-
did
that
work on a whole
happened.
bunch
Yeah.
of them.
We had literally gone through every single ordinance
Our CEO
And
left
when he
and
left,
they disappeared.
that went.
and this is the good thing, because AvCog's gonna have that. So 6 years down the road, when you decide to do this again,
They
you
will
call
have.
AvCog and they will have it. And they will
Well, unless you leave and then nobody else will know
No,
where they
yes,
are.
we have a system there, which has been nice, because I have to say, AvCog started working with a lot of municipalities to do their ordinances in the 80s, 90s. So I, a lot of the time, will have more versions of the town's ordinance than the town does. So I've now been trying to tell everybody, if you update it, send it to me, so I can at least have some form of it. But I think it'll just be nice to be able to talk about it, go through it, think about the implications of what is in writing and how that's gonna play out in development.
And it's
So,
impartial.
Yeah.
You know, there's no special interest or
It does.
anybody's view on it because she really has no stake in it, you know.
I just care about
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. And again, I think it'll be nice to, get it all together, sit down as a group and talk about it. And, I told Jenny, regardless, when I update things, I like to get it over to people at least 2 weeks ahead of time of them actually looking at it in a meeting because you need the time to look through it, especially with ordinances. So I'll definitely make sure to make clear contact with everybody so that, we're all on the same page and just keep it going.
Now, the other question is do you want it to go to the attorney first? Or to you guys first to review and then to the attorney, because the attorney may have changes.
And we may have changed, so if we go back and forth anyway.
Right, so I feel like.
And he gets paid more than we do. Maybe us first.
That's kind of what I was thinking. To start off, I update, send it over to you guys, we all review
Yeah,
together,
we're cheap.
come to where we want them to be, then send them over to you.
And then if they have to come back to us to have another look,
We're gonna be-
if the changes are highlighted, we can literally cover
That's
that.
kind of what, yeah.
And they'll be redlined, I think, in all the town, right?
Yeah.
When they vote.
Yes, yeah. So you'll be able to see what exactly is changing in each one, too. through the website. Yeah. Then you see-
No, I think that's good because it will give people the understanding of what was there and what verbiage changed,
You need that.
and it will help.
Yeah. And even I know for me, just, bringing this out there too, sometimes it depends on what you guys like. If you want me to send over that you have both the red line version and then a clean copy that you can read both, whatever's gonna make it easier for you, you just let me know. I'm happy to do it.
I just want to make sure we do workshops, we do them. That's
Yeah.
my biggest thing, is I think we need to be included with this,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
You read my look?
Yep.
All in favor?
Yeah, I saw it in his face too.
I haven't eaten supper yet.
Oh.
I have something. Do you guys do anything from the floor?
I'm sorry.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I should have asked.
That's okay, because you guys have gotten to code enforcement business, right? And then I didn't see you get to other business.
Yeah, we didn't have any other business except for the ordinance that we were talking
Okay,
about.
can I introduce myself?
Sure.
Say something? So my name is Kelly, I'm from the Spanish Rock Garden Club. I've been working with AdCog as well, and Erica and I met back in May or June. There is a project that could be possible through the ARTC, which is the Transportation Division of AdCog, to help assist with part of the road that goes from No Name Pond Road to Green Street to Main Street Market, to help regain sidewalks. So it's something that I had brought up back in June, and that was because I was pulled to AvCog as a connection to the town municipality, because of course, as you guys know, I'm not a resident, some of you know that, some of you do, some of you don't. I'm not a resident of Savanna, I live in Wales. The garden is what promotes my participation or interest, and so with this project, it's a smaller project through DOT. It's based on your municipality value evaluation. It'd be a 50-50, but of 20% local share.
Can I ask you something, Kelly? Did you
Yeah.
take this before the select board?
I did. I brought it up 3 times.
Yeah, what did they say?
Nothing.
Okay.
So I'm
Because I thought we had a conversation about.
in June, that I might be overstepping.
Uh-huh.
But what's gonna happen is that your data that's used for that grant is not gonna be available to you. And then the projects that are happening with DOT paving are gonna be passed, and so you'll miss an opportunity window.
It's still a select board.
It is a
Right.
select board.
It is,
It
no, I know that, so what I wanted to present is the opportunity to help be part of that, because I know that they're short-staffed, and so I'm trying to bring the conversation to light of the planning board as well, and the people who do make plans in the town, and I only am doing that because I have an opportunity that I could give the 2.5% of the in-kind match of my time to help be part of that
project, which is $12,500 is the maximum value of this project. So that might not seem like a lot to you, but it might for the community.
No, it is.
And so it's full transparency of what's available. So I know that you have, for an example, you have Erica's hours for ALCOG, which is wonderful, and that is a huge project, and I'm not doubting that for anything. What I'm just saying is that I don't know if other people know that that's
The people have
happening.
come to us before, and I think Neely's even brought it up before, about the sidewalks, and as we've said before, that is a state maintained road, and that needs to be something dealt with the state and the select board. It's not something the planning
Right.
board is part of,
Understood.
so this needs to go back to the planning board.
I mean, select board.
To the
Select board, yes, select board, sorry about that.
That's okay.
And, you know, it's not like we haven't thought of it or haven't discussed
Oh,
it
of
or.
course. So what I'm just saying is that you have somebody from the community that's willing to help step forward, that may be a voice from the other side of the planning side of the board of the town of Sedatus. You could come together and have that conversation and know that somebody is willing to help make that possible. I don't know. So I just wanted to share that, if anything, because I know it's been spoken about since 2013 with the comprehensive plans. And so it's something that I was involved with before. And so, yes, it might be the wrong setting, but and just to be able to speak it and to make sure that you all know that you're leaving data and opportunity on the table.
So maybe right now isn't the right time, maybe there's other projects and other things
Oh,
that
of
we're
course.
focusing on.
Which is why I'm offering
And
my time to help.
I'm not saying that you're not offering your time and that
That's
it's just, it's the wrong setting for right now.
Okay.
There's a lot for us to focus on, and I don't think
Absolutely.
that,
Even if we present it to them, they're just gonna tell us it's not in scope.
Yeah, so I guess, but it's just,
But, yeah.
but conversations, right? So, and transparency across both of the boards. That's all that I was trying to do. So thank you so much for your time. Sorry that I was over. Okay. Thank you.
So adjourned.
Have a great night.
Don't forget to have money.
do we know how to shut
I need
this
to
off?
know who, end stream and then publish.
End stream. I'm a computer guy. I should be able